I get DMs every now and then where the artist was approached to do a commission, and they did sketches, they did maybe a preliminary painting. They did a lot of work before getting paid, getting a deposit or signing a contract. And then the client either ghosted them or said, never mind, or for whatever reason, they didn't get the job. And they bring this story up because it's very aggravating. It's really sad because they feel like they've been stolen from or they've been taken advantage of. And it's a lesson, I hate to say it, it's a lesson that I think we all need to learn. We all need to just experience. Welcome to The Composed Artist, the podcast where we explore the intersection of artistry, entrepreneurship, and self-improvement and continue to pursue a more composed life. I'm your host, Stephanie, an artist specializing in live wedding painting, living in the vibrant and soulful city of New Orleans. Over the past decade, my job has taken me all over the world, meeting and creating art in front of thousands of people, and has allowed me to create a colorful life for myself and my family. Now, I help other artists build confidence, develop their techniques, and fall in love with the art of live wedding painting. I invite you to join us for inspiring stories of creative journeys, practical tips for running a successful art business, and honest conversations about the joys and challenges of running a studio and being a parent. This podcast is here to keep you company, keep you entertained, and is full of resources to help you on your journey to create a business that feeds your soul, makes an impact, and is insanely profitable. The Composed Artist is the podcast for the bold, creative, passionate, and genuine artist. Let's get started. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for tuning in. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. Lately, we've been having wonderful conversations and chats and interview a little bit style, but I'm just really excited to talk with artist friends of mine from all over the world. I can't believe we just started this podcast a few months ago and we've talked to 12 people, I think. I can't remember. It's so many really fascinating artists who I like, who I've been friends with online for years. And we finally got together and had a conversation and recorded it so y'all can eavesdrop. Today's going to be a little different. My sisters and I recently started a habit. We call it the Wednesday waffle. It was inspired by a reel I saw on Instagram. Basically, we send each other videos that are like a minute long, and every Wednesday. And so every Wednesday, when you're getting through the day, I have a couple little video chats come through in my sister's group chat, and it's really fun. It's just a fun way to kind of keep up. So today's going to be a little bit of a waffle. I'm going to share some highlights of my year 2024 and some things I'm looking forward to, some lessons that I learned throughout the year. And yeah, if you want to share, I'd love to hear things like your highlight reel. Obviously this is a one-sided type of media, but we're on Instagram. If you are listening and you want to follow along and watch clips and then also offer feedback, you can leave comments and reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and on YouTube. I've been really enjoying the comments left on the YouTube channel. But if you follow The Composed Artist on Instagram, it's a social platform. So I'd love to hear back from you guys. But today I'm going to share a couple of little highlights from my year. Please feel free to share some highlights from your year as well. So yeah, let's get started. All right, I'm going to have a sip of my coffee real fast. Do y'all drink a lot of coffee, or what kind of caffeine do you prefer? I wish I was more of a tea person. I'm a tea person when I'm cold or sick, but I have like 3 cups of coffee a day. I need 2 to get going in the morning, and then I usually like a cup of coffee after lunch. And I prefer community coffee or Black Rifle coffee. Their coffee is very strong. That company was started by veterans, and I trust the coffee that they recommend. So fix you a cup of coffee and let's have a fun chat today. So 2024 was a really fun and exciting and emotional and at the same time peaceful year for me. A few really cool places that I got to go and paint at for weddings. I painted at a historical museum in Houston, and I got to paint in the paleontology room. That was really fun. I basically painted the bride and the groom on the dance floor surrounded by dinosaur fossils. But I will share that the most interesting part and the challenge there was the light. So the way they had different uplights, in a reception setting there, it's mood lighting. It's mood lighting 101. And so having not only to paint all these bones, all of these intricate details, but having to paint reflected light on either side. I remember one of I'll try to find the image of the painting and pop it up here on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it now. But there's like purplish pink lighting on one side and then green lighting on the other, like a greenish, bluish teal, and creating that three-dimensional reflected light effect on the bones was quite a challenge. So that one was really fun, and I'm really excited about how it came out. It looks convincing, and that's always my goal, is to make whatever I'm trying to paint look convincing. Because a secret, I'll share a secret. I may have shared it already, but just a reminder, painting is just a bucket of illusion. You're just putting paint on the canvas to create the illusion of something that people can recognize. And so that's the challenge. The challenge is to, see a tree and put marks down and make it look like an oak tree or a cypress tree or an aspen. You know what I mean? Like that's the fun challenge for me. Other places I painted at, the World War II Museum in New Orleans, in the bomber airplane hangar, I got to paint on a square format canvas, and I'll show you that one. All the bomber airplanes hanging from the ceiling. Very cool, very metallic feel. Very fun party happening on the lower part of the composition. That one was a really fun one too. I remember that. That was actually the first wedding I painted in 2024. So I jumped headfirst back into hard work. Very worth it. Other places I got to visit: Branson, Missouri, the absolutely beautiful. I think the chapel was the Infinity Chapel, but it was such a beautiful location for a local couple. It's actually a friend of mine who lives in Shreveport. Her daughter got married and they had a destination wedding, flew me up there, and I got to paint the most beautiful scenery overlooking the river in Branson. Gorgeous. I got to visit the Anthony Chapel in Arkansas. That was a bucket list for me, a bucket list venue. Look it up, the Anthony Chapel. I'll show the video. I'm going to be showing a lot of pictures here. So if you're listening on Spotify, go to the YouTube and then you can check out. Maybe I'll share a couple of these pictures in like a carousel on Instagram so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But these are some locations that I visited this year that stood out to me. And then, of course, I just recently got back from Hawaii. That was a beautiful venue. The wedding was superb. Just the amount of detail, the florals, the location itself, absolutely beautiful. And then the couple and the family, it was a beautiful experience. It was an honor to be there. It's always an honor to be included in someone's wedding day. It really is, y'all. I'm so grateful. I can't, even when something bad happens, bad experience, bad weather, bad traffic, bad, whatever. The guests are rowdy. Anytime it's not the best experience, it's still an honor to be there. It's still wild that I get to be invited to attend, but also to paint something at all these people's weddings. It's so much fun for me. It's the best job ever. I used to be so scared. I mean, terrified to bring oil paints to a wedding or an event that I was painting at, until I realized that Gamblin has me covered with all of the mediums, the paint thinner, the varnish, the whole gambit. I love using Gamsol as an odorless paint thinner. Okay, this is what I use to wash my brushes to thin the paint. I use a big jug of that to slow the drying time. If I'm trying to finish a painting and layer and do all of that, I use Galkid. It's a very thick medium that I love to use with my oil paints. And let's say it's very dry, it's a very hot and dry environment. I love to slow the drying time with refined linseed oil. This is my medium of choice for my oil paints. And when the painting is dry and I'm ready to send it off to the client, I varnish it with Gamvar, high gloss. That's my preference. And Gamblin has you covered with your preference as well. You can visit their website, www.gamblincolors.com. That's spelled GAMBLIN colors.com, or you can click the link in the show notes to shop my preference for oil painting mediums. Check them out and thank me later. So those were some of the really cool places that I got to visit. I painted a lot of local weddings, which was nice. I've been traveling a lot over the past few years. And honestly, I'm trying to rein it in a little bit just because these kids, y'all, I miss them. I miss them. And they started asking me. Charlotte, my almost 4-year-old, asked me the other day, Mama, can you stay with us forever? And I was like, yeah, I'll always be with you. And she's like, really? You won't go to work anymore? I was like, oh, I see what you're saying. And so I had to like have a whole chat with her about like, you know how you go to school every day and it's so exciting. You get to play with your friends and you come home and tell me all about it. I get to go to work and I get to pay it and I get to come home and tell you all about it. And so, she accepted that this time, but it's hard. It's getting harder to leave often. So this year, I actually tried to keep my schedule pretty open. We did have some personal things. Obviously, I don't know if anybody knows from Instagram or follows me on Instagram, but earlier this year we were expecting and then we had a miscarriage. And so what that looked like, oh, you guys, of course, personally, emotionally tough. But I did wait. Let's talk about what you would do. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I guess we can kind of cover it really fast. What do you do when you need to cancel weddings? People ask me this all the time because I have had I've been doing weddings for 10 years and my oldest of 3 children is 5. So I've had 3 babies in this 10-year long career. And I have had to cancel weddings because I was, due to have a baby. And so I try not to cancel weddings at all for any reason. When we were trying to plan our second, I was intentionally leaving months open on the calendar, 9-10 months out, because I was trying to plan that. But honestly, you can't plan for these things. Sometimes you are able to get pregnant right away, and sometimes it takes a year. It took us a year for Hazel. Hazel is my third. She's 16 months right now. So sometimes you can plan for these things, sometimes you can't. And when you can't, you have to look at your calendar and then you have to make tough decisions. So what happened this year was we found out we were expecting in January. Hazel was 6 months old, so it was a big surprise. And you wait. Everyone recommends that you wait to tell people until you're about 10 weeks because quote unquote anything can happen, right? And because miscarriages happen often. So I told family, but I didn't really worry about my calendar so much until 10, 12 weeks was approaching. And so on Monday, the Monday of my 12th week, I emailed my clients their weddings were in August and September, which was around my due date. And no, September and October. Anyway, I had to cancel 5 weddings, which it's heartbreaking to do. But here's what I did, which I recommend that you do. This is incredibly helpful. It helps soften the blow. I reached out to friends of mine, a handful of artists. I put it out in Facebook groups. I reached out personally and I asked and I lined up people who were, in my opinion, extremely talented, available on the date, and willing to transfer the invoice. Like easy peasy. All they had to do was just pick one of these 2 available artists and, either they got a little bit of a refund or it wasn't any more than the client had already agreed to pay me. So I tried to hand it off as smoothly as possible. That's what I like to do whenever I'm looking at having to possibly cancel a wedding. And then I canceled 5 weddings, 2 of which were out of the country, which was heartbreaking for me. I was so excited to travel. One of them was in Assisi in Italy, and one was in Scotland. And I've been wanting to go to Scotland. One day I'll get it. Putting this out there in the universe. I'd love to go to Scotland to paint a wedding. Anyway, I sent out those emails Monday and was having conversations with the clients, handing things off really smoothly. Everyone was very understanding. And just in case you're wondering, the verbiage is very much like, I have bittersweet news. Wonderful news for us. We're expecting. Very sad news. This means that I can't be there. Obviously, I'll either be 9 months pregnant or 2 weeks postpartum. I can't. And so the clients are usually very understanding. Like I said, I've done this 3 times, and so it's hard every time, but you have to think about you as a person and what you and your body can handle and what you're going to need. The sleep deprivation alone is enough to make you want to crawl, in bed and not work and not see anybody for weeks after you have the baby or even beforehand. Anyway, that was Monday. I was having conversations with the clients. Wednesday, went to a doctor's appointment, no heartbeat. So that was just so hard. And then, you go through everything that needs to happen after that and the recovery. And then you think, like, I literally thought, should I email them and say, just kidding, I'm available now? But it was so hard that Chris also suggested, he said, don't do that. Just, we'll do something else. Take some time off. And we did. We actually went to Greece after months and months. Throughout the summer. We didn't book a trip right then and there, obviously, but I decided I didn't book any other weddings in October. And then I decided, you know what, I really would like to not be home during that time, that period that would have been my due date. I felt like I might be very sad. And so I needed a distraction. And so we planned a trip to Greece. And Chris and I, 2 years ago, we went to France and kind of traveled around the south of France a little bit, which was very bougie. But I had an artist retreat in Paris planned. And so I brought him along and we had our own little trip. And it was really wonderful to reconnect with the person that you co-parent with, if that makes sense. Our whole personality a lot of the time when we're home is we're parenting. And then we're two people living and syncing up and trying to be individuals and have a relationship, but also it's always around parenting. The kids are always here, and which is wonderful. Wouldn't change it for the world, but every now and then you got to reconnect. You got to remember, like, oh yeah, I remember why I like you. This is who I am when I'm not a parent. We know that, like, when you're not working, you're in a social setting, you're a different person. So it was really good 2 years ago to go to France, and then this year to go to Greece. It was really good. And I think we're going to try to make it every 2 years feels like enough. We can't do it every year. We're very busy, but I think we're going to try to do the every 2 year thing. I don't know. See if we can reconnect. It's really nice. Honestly, it is just nice to revisit the person that you fell in love with. And then when you come home, you just kind of like tap in and tap out of parenting, and it works out. So that's what we did in October. We went to Greece. So yes, looking back at the year, I was counting weddings. I started this. I did something last year. I was on maternity leave with Hazel, and I had time. I didn't do any commissions last fall. I was getting ready to launch the Wedding Painter's Blueprint, my online course. I launched that in the spring. So there's a lot of prep that happens in the fall and in the winter times. And I had time on my hands. And so I sent gifts to all of my clients from the year, all of my wedding clients. I sent little tiny frame ornaments with a picture, like a zoomed in picture of the couple. And then they had beautiful ribbons and bows tied around it. They were packaged really nicely. They had I had so much fun packaging those. And then I also sent some really special gifts to some planners that I know. That's kind of it is a little marketing idea, because it's like hey, don't forget about me, and here's this really special experience of getting a gift in the mail. But I'm not asking for anything. I'm just like, here, I thought of you. You're special to me. I value our friendship and relationship. Here you go. Enjoy. Merry Christmas. So, and I'm doing that again this year. I'm a little busier this year, but I'm excited to be doing that. Anyway, I was looking at all of the weddings I did this year. Last year I did around 50, maybe 52 weddings. This year, I only did 25. And when I tell you the panic that I felt, like I wanted to be home more during the weekends. I did clear my schedule in October. I don't like to book weddings in December. I don't book any weddings like in August. There are some months that I try to take off. So it's like the whole month here, there, and there. But it just felt like a very sparse. I had to go look again. I couldn't believe that I had only done 25 weddings. That's half the weddings that I did last year. That's insane. But it was intentional. My VA, Nicole, also, we're looking at the numbers, we're looking at income, we're looking at goals. And I've pushed and pulled her a couple of times. I've been like, we need to do more. And then like 3 hours later, sent her a voice message like, no, we don't. That's not the goal. The goal is not to do more. The goal is to be intentional with the things that we do. Go back to what I said 2 weeks ago. Poor thing. She manages me very well. It's so hard being very motivated and very driven by projects and goals and things like that, and then having to rein it in because another goal is more important. Does that make sense? Whenever you first get started in business, you're just like a yes man. You take and I recommend that you do, because that's how you make money. That's how you get momentum in the beginning. You were saying yes to anything that comes through the door, and then you get busier doing one thing or another, and then you have to say yes and say no to some things, and then it grows from there. You kind of niche down automatically. But when you think about big projects, I'll give you an example. I am really wanting to do more like coaching. I'm having so much fun with the online course. It is so fulfilling for me as a person. There's something like innate, um something like a coach inside of me. I used to coach swimming. That was always really fun. It's fun to see other people succeed. It's fun to help them see their growth and their potential. That's very fun for me. I am energized by it. I feel like I'm helping people discover their potential and find success in their own way. Anyway, I want to do more of that. And that takes a lot of time and energy. And so I'm trying to be home more with the kids. So you have to think big picture. That means that I have to say no to weddings or bookings a year from now. When they come in, like when the inquiry comes in an email, if the date is open on my calendar a year from now, my gut response is yes, I could be there. Yes, I want to be there. Yes. But I have to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm unavailable for that date. Does does that make sense? It's so hard to do, but it's really helped me see things in the bigger picture. It's like when you have kids, when you have a child, and the immediate request or desire or demand from them is, a treat or a snack or something something that in the moment feels like, oh, this would be so much fun. Yes, that would make you happy right now. Yes. But as a parent, you have to think that dinner time is coming up, or bedtime is coming up, or they need to do this later, so I need to be disciplined now. They need to be told no now so that their routine can go accordingly and smoothly later, that they can be hungry for dinner later, that they won't be cranky and they won't have a sugar rush and a crash later. You have to think about the project. So yeah, it's like that with business as well, and with your calendar and your time, and whenever you're thinking about things in terms of projects. So all of that to say, I am now okay with the fact that I only did 25 weddings this year. Kind of. Even saying that out loud is like, ugh. Also, there's an identity thing. There's an identity element to that. I used to do 60 to 70 weddings every year. Like that was the goal, was as many as possible. The goal was make as much money as possible, go to as many places as possible, serve as many people as possible. And I have to cut back from that, and I have to be okay with the 25 weddings, and not only the number, but the income, you know, like being okay with less, not needing to have more and more and more and more and more. That, ooh-wee, that's tough. That's been tough. I'll tell you. Ugh. I'm going through this emotional cycle right now. You're listening to it. You're watching it. It's happening right now. So if you are facing some sort of growth dilemma like that, you're not alone. It's hard, but if you make space and time for other priorities of yours, if you want to work on an original collection, you got to make time for that. If you want to go places with your family and go on vacations next summer, you got to make time for that. You have to set boundaries. So yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. Wish me luck too. You may have heard me talk about my little side business, my little fine art print shop. I create an original painting, I take a photo of it, and I print it, and I print it again and again and again. I make hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars a year on prints. It's so easy. And I learned everything I know about creating my own prints and printing them in-house from Laurie Ann Gonzalez and her Art to Print course. I highly recommend, if you are an artist and you want to make easy money from your original works and even the commission works, you can resell those as prints. I recommend you check out Art to Print. Laurie Ann has a very direct way of teaching, and you are really going to appreciate her no fluff method of giving you information and telling you exactly what you need to do to make making fine art prints in your own studio a breeze. You can check her out online at learn.laurieannart.com. That's learn at LaurieAnnEart.com, or just click the link in the show notes for my affiliate link. Check her out and thank me later. Okay, moving on, a couple really exciting things that I did or that happened to me this year. I switched to oils. This is big. This is big because it's something I never wanted to do or never planned to do. But around April, around that wedding in Branson that I was telling you about earlier, I decided it's like I broke up with acrylics. I was done. I was no longer happy. It was no longer fulfilling. It wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for them. And I was like, I'm never doing acrylics again. It's got to be oils. It's got to be easier, right? And I love it. I love oil paints. I haven't picked up acrylics. In fact, I had the option. A client hired me for a wedding in Colorado in the mountains, and they wanted to keep the painting at the end of the night. Like, they wanted to keep it. They didn't want me to have to ship it. And so they were like, you can do it in acrylic. And I was like, oh, maybe that sounds like a lot easier. And when it came down to it, I brought oils, and I'm so glad I did. And then I ended up giving them the wet painting, but I brought it to their house, which was nearby. And so they literally took it and hung it on the wall, and that's where it stayed until it was dry. So switched to oils. Big move, worth it. If you haven't tried oils, give it a try. I picked them up for live painting this year, and I specifically have not edited the Wedding Painter's Blueprint course for oils because I want to get good. I want to have some time and some experience under my belt before I do add. Now, however, the Wedding Painter's Blueprint is a recorded course, but it is guided. We go through it together. You get a module every week. And then every week we have a in person. It's on Zoom, but we have a get together critique. We critique work every week. Whoever wants to submit work that year, it's up for critique. I submitted a piece last year. It was my very first, or the last launch earlier this year in 2024. And we talked about it. It was my first oil painting live. We talked about it. It was awesome. Every Thursday, we do a live Q&A. And it's just any question under the sun. It can be module related. It can be critique related, but we have a lot of in-person time. And I'm going to be talking about oils. I'm going to be weighing this or that acrylic oils. It's going to come out it's going to be a part of the course moving forward because this is the world I'm in now. And I love it. So we'll talk about that in the upcoming launch of the Wedding Painter's Blueprint, which we will open the doors for enrollment in February. I'm announcing this right now for the very first time based on feedback that I received this year and last year. Actually, a lot of people, it's a lot of information. It's a lot of material. It's a lot of assignments. And people need more time, apparently. It's been a 10-week course, and moving forward, it's going to be a 12-week course. And the extra 2 weeks are just more time. and everything's going to be spread out just a little bit more. So instead of launching in March, we're launching in February. And for anyone curious, the reason I'm launching in February, which is not more convenient for me, I might add, February is Mardi Gras. So it is wild here in New Orleans. Wild with my schedule. The kids have a lot of Mardi Gras things at school. It's just a lot going on. But the course ends May, like the third week of May, which is around graduation time. So that's the end of school. So once school's out, I can't give y'all my 100% focus and attention. It's definitely goes to the kids, so we have to wrap. I'm very strict about that wrap date around that time. So 12-week course, it'll open for enrollment in February. You can click the link in the bio if you want to join the wait list. The wait list is just your name on an email list. And when I start talking about the course more, when I start emailing announcements, you're going to be on that list and you're going to receive those emails. Those emails are going to start going out in January. Okay. So please click the link. Go to my website, stephaniegaffney.com. TorgrossoFineArt.com also has information on the course, or send us a message. We'll help you find it and join the wait list. And then that doesn't mean that you're on the wait list to enroll. It is you're on the wait list to receive information to enroll. And I'll be talking more about that later. Are you still using cheap art supplies? Look, you don't have to tell me, but you know if you want to level up, you have to use better supplies. Come on, let's invest a little. I've been using Rosemary and Company for my paintbrushes for the past 5 years or so, and I have never thrown away one of these brushes. The quality is unmatched, and they're like reasonably priced. I hate to say it, but they're the best. So I love a long handled paintbrush. Okay. I love a hog hair or an ivory, which is kind of a mixed bristle hair. And Rosemary and Company, they have like so many options. So I would check them out. The website is www.rosemaryandco.com. That's Rosemary spelled Rosemary and co.com. Or you can just click the link in my show notes and it'll take you directly to my personal wish list. It's all the brushes that I use and recommend. So check them out and thank me later. Other exciting things that happened to me this year. I started this podcast. This has been so much fun for an extroverted, chatty Kathy. This has been very fun. It has been time consuming, of course, as is everything that is new. It has been the best opportunity for me to suck at something. It is. I've recorded these episodes more than once. You know, like I've started and stopped and scratched and edited and I mean, the first episode I recorded 3 times. It is fun, I have to say, in full transparency. It is fun to start something and be bad at it and figure it out. That for me, it's fun. Like if I were to pick up, I can rollerblade, but if I were to pick up rollerblading, that's a bad example. Piano. I can't play the piano for nothing. I could play Michael Rode the Boat Ashore or something like that from when I was 8. I can't play the piano, but I would be delighted to sit down and start practicing scales and to see, because you can see the progress so clearly in the beginning. I know that may feel contradictory to your experience. Sometimes it takes a long time to see progress, but especially when it's skill related, you see, if you look back, you can see how much you grow in a week's time or a month's time or 3 months' time or a year's time. I can listen to my episodes now and listen back to the first one and feel, oh, okay, you're getting a little better. You're getting the hang of it. This one's going to be a little scattered because we're just waffling today. The next one will be an interview, which is always fun. I do enjoy the interview style ones a little bit better because it's 2 people having a chat. This is harder because nobody's answering me right now. I'm just talking to a camera lens, but that's okay. It's fun. Right now, also random, but it's a highlight this year. We are doing a giveaway. I am giving away a 24 by 30 inch custom oil painting valued at $5,000. I have done giveaways in the past, Christmas giveaways, usually Thanksgiving gratitude related. And I very much enjoy the excitement and the hype around a giveaway, especially a high ticket item. If you are kind of plateauing on social media, if you are not getting a lot of inquiries, if you have time in your calendar, do a giveaway and make it a high dollar, something that feels very generous. It is very generous. So you're giving away something of high value in exchange for action and activity and engagement. And it's worth it. It's worth it as a business, and it's fun. I think it's fun. So I will be doing a free largish oil painting next year sometime. Right when this episode goes live, December 5th, the giveaway is still open. There is a post on my Instagram account. You can go and share that. The details are in the caption. You share the post, you tag me, you post on your story, and you follow the composed artist on Instagram. I think that's it. You have to tag 3 people. But we're picking a winner on December 8th. So if you're listening to this way in the future, the giveaway has been done. But I'll probably do another one next Christmas. They're a lot of fun. And you can do one any old time. You can do a Valentine's Day giveaway, a Mother's Day giveaway, end of school giveaway. You can do this any time of the year, but definitely lean into the fact that I'm very grateful. I just want to give back. Have fun, take it off, right? Get have fun, tag away, whatever. So that kind of wraps up my year. It was a long year, but it went by very quickly. I spent a lot of time with family. I did get to travel and go to some weddings in some really cool places and do some weddings here close to home. Beautiful couples, beautiful weddings, large paintings. I did more 30 by 40 inch paintings this year than I ever have. And that 36 by 48, that was very fun. Laura Switek said it best. When you work large like that, it's almost easier because you're painting larger shapes. And whenever you work small, like 18 by 24 inch, you tighten up so much that it feels like it's almost more stressful. That's my experience. You may not share that experience. That's fine for you. Happy for you. You keep doing that. I like to paint bigger. So moving forward, I'm going to chat with my clients and say, here's an example of the painting mocked up on the wall. Here's what I really like to paint. If you would rather something much, much smaller, I've got a list of artists I can recommend, but this is my jam. Let's do something like this if you want to work with me. So I'm looking forward to kind of taking that goal of working larger. I'm going to take that into 2025. Something else I'm looking forward to next year is Layover, which is the in-person live painter conference hosted by Chloe Campbell and the Cloud Studio team. It is the first live painting conference, workshop, retreat style event ever. It's the first official in-person event. I'm so excited. And I'm hosting a workshop, so I'm going to be teaching something. I think the topic is on painting, like color mixing, color theory. We're going to go outside and paint plein air. It is at the William Aiken House. The registration is closed. It closed in October. Sorry if you're just hearing this for the first time, but we're going to have it again. She's going to host a series of events. This is the one in Charleston. And I'm very excited to meet and hug all of the live painters that are going to be there. Very much looking forward to it. And I actually would love to host one of these in-person meetups one day, but obviously projects. I got to plan that project. If you want to share feedback, when would be the best time of year for you to go to something like this? I went to Engage, one of the Engage Summit retreats this year, but my very first one. It was incredible. It was incredible and very, very elevated experience. I learned a lot about luxury and what that means and what kind of experience that feels like on the receiving end. And they hosted it in June. The one I went to was in June, and June is a very, very busy month for the wedding industry. So I think I could probably host a retreat like that any time of year, but I'm just waffling, y'all. Nothing is planned right now. Just looking for feedback. But I am excited about Layover. I'm excited. I'm excited to meet everybody and be there in person and create some things. I've done artist retreats in the past where it was very much a retreat and very much we didn't do much. And I would much rather go and do and come home with little gems, little things that I've painted, things that I've learned, sketches, things like that. I want to create and learn through creation. So I'm excited to help the attendees go home with something that they created and, put another tool in their tool belt, weapon in their arsenal, so to speak. Well, that is kind of it, you guys. That was my year. It was a wonderful year. Oh, it was the coolest year. I'm very grateful for everything I experienced this year. Next year, it's going to be great. I got a bunch of weddings on the calendar. I don't know how many. I'm not counting. Maybe I'll count next year, but I've got plenty of open dates. So, if anybody's listening and is wanting to hire me for their wedding next year, please inquire and we'll see. We'll see where it is and what I got going on. I'd love to be there. Right now, I'm working on commissions. Let me talk about commissions for a second and then I'll let you go. Commissions require a lot of time and effort that is not paid. Okay. Somebody asked, how am I going to rephrase this? The topic is brought up over and over again in like Facebook groups. And I get DMs every now and then where the artist was approached to do a commission and they did sketches, they did maybe a preliminary painting. They did a lot of work before getting paid, getting a deposit or signing a contract. And then the client either ghosted them or said, never mind, or for whatever reason, they didn't get the job. And they bring this story up because it's very aggravating. It's really sad because they feel like they've been stolen from or they've been taken advantage of. And it's a lesson, I hate to say it, it's a lesson that I think we all need to learn. We all need to just experience. You just need to do that. I mentioned in an earlier podcast episode, and I can't remember which one, that I've done at least two paintings without signing a contract. It was an email request. I said, "Here's my list. Here's my price." They said, "Yes, this is what we want." I said, "Great, I'll put it on the list." And then I got to their name on the list, and I just did the painting because I was on a roll. And then sent them a photo and said, "Your painting is done. Here, resending the invoice." And they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we can't afford it," or I just didn't hear back from them. And then I've got this painting that isn't paid for. All the work that I just did for nothing. It's a hard lesson to learn, y'all. That's why business practices, invoicing, like clarity in vision, talking on the phone about things, sending that little Photoshop mock up, sending that sketch, getting that approved, and then a contract. It's so important. It may feel like unnecessary and like, really, it's just an 8x10 pet portrait. Why do I need to sign an 8-page contract for this reason? Because if they don't like it or if they don't want it or they just ghost you, what you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And then it's almost like you've already done all the work. So it's just exhausting and it's frustrating. So highly recommend contracts. I have a commission contract. I have a live painting contract. There's a lot of information on painting style, clarifying painting style, clarifying understanding that you're hiring me for something you can't see just yet. Um, an agreement between the artist and the client on the payment schedule, and for whatever reason, if they want to cancel the booking or cancel the job, what they get back, if anything, monetarily. A lot of clarity there. Hard lessons learned. Now, everybody has a different process in terms of creating commissions. You can make it part of your process that you don't do a lick of work without an invoice. Or you could provide some sort of sketch if there's an element of collaging things. If you're just copying a photo of a dog onto making it into a painting in your style, you don't really need to do anything preliminary, I believe personally. But if there's an element of collaging, composing, choreographing multiple reference photos into one singular image, I think a sketch or a Photoshop mock-up is the way to go. Or use a different platform if you don't use Photoshop, but whatever it is, give the make sure that there is a what's called meeting of the minds before signing the contract. Make sure the client understands what they're going to get, what it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like in terms of your painting style. Please do not show another artist's painting style unless you are doing so to show the difference between painting styles. Something abstract, impasto, thick, textured, something photorealistic, clean, neutral, something like that. Show examples for difference, but make sure that they understand your painting style. Show them your portfolio. Um, Once you have a handful of pieces in your portfolio, you can show examples like, here's an example of a painting outside in the grass and in the greenery with the trees. And here's a painting inside a ballroom or in, against a brick wall. What kind of vibe do you like? That's really helpful. You're aiding in the process of the meeting of the minds and making sure your client is clear on what they're going to get and excited about what they're going to get. So, yeah, think about what your process will be very clear about it, and then understand if you're going to do work before the contract is signed, there's a chance that you don't get the job, and that's part of it. A friend recently reached out, somebody who I know is in charge of running a charitable organization that I work with every year. She texted me and asked me what I charge for an RFP. And an RFP is called a request for proposal. A request for proposal is something that, from my understanding, contractors will do or government companies will do, where if there's going to be a big job that's done, you can you can send a request for a proposal, and then the company in question or the multiple companies in question will do the work that is required to compose a proposal. So they will get quotes, they will get bids, they will do all this work to create the proposal that they will send in, and then the company who is doing the hiring will then choose one of the companies based on their proposals. Some companies charge for the RFP because of the work and the time that is involved. This is very big and corporate, and artists don't typically do that, from my understanding. They don't charge for that preliminary sketch, but you can if you want. I believe there's nothing stopping you from saying, yeah, I can do the next step would be a deposit before you get the preliminary sketch. And then if you approve the preliminary sketch, we will move forward with. But if you don't, then I still retain the deposit and you can go on your way. You can do it however you want. As an artist, you're an independent business person. And if I've gotten any of this information wrong, let me know. But that's my general understanding of an RFP and, charging for preliminary work before you actually get the job. So that's kind of that's part of what commissions involve. Some people will email you and say, hey, love your work. Here's a photo. Can you paint it? Like, at your convenience. No problem. I'll pay you whatever. Ideal client. That's awesome. That's always great when they do that, but not everybody's like that. Some people really have a lot of questions, and maybe they're even anxious with, are they making the right decision and how much is it going to cost? And I know you have like a 3-part payment plan, but can I pay you like every 2 weeks for the next 6 months? Like, people will have different requests, and as a custom painting, custom client, you can customize that yourself if you want. So, yeah, if you're trying to get into painting, or if you're doing commissions and you're frustrated with this part of the process, you can customize your process to work best for you. But I do recommend considering the fact that you may not get the job, and that's okay. And then all the work that happens after, specify either how much time is included after the painting is done for touch-ups or revisions, or say you get one round of revisions, which is one round. Tell me, circle on the picture all the points that you'd like me to change. And then I will do all of those changes one time. I'm not doing this back and forth thing. And then after that, it's an hourly rate. Like, you can specify that in the contract. I'm sure if you haven't experienced revisions requests yet, you will one day. And you're going to be like, oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not, because people don't understand the concept of the continued work, and you just want to be done. You feel like it's done, but they don't. So that's tough. You need to clarify that. And then what's paid and what's just included. Sometimes it's a bigger hassle just to negotiate a price for two little tweaks to a nose and a chin. And sometimes you just do it. So make that decision for yourself. What's best for you, what's best emotionally, creatively, and then understand that people who are hiring you are likely, they have no idea what kind of toll this is taking on you. They don't really, you need to tell them what your process is and then not get mad and not get frustrated. They're just trying to make their painting meet their own expectations. Or if there's a problem with likeness, if the portrait that you painted is off a little bit, don't get frustrated if they're like, it's just not quite right. Like, work with them on that to an extent, because if they're just taking advantage of you, then you have to put your business big girl pants on and say, okay, this needs to stop. So you're not alone if you've dealt with that before, or if you're dealing with it now, especially leading up to the holidays. I'm sure you're going to be very busy with commissions. Yeah, good luck. Good luck. I'm doing commissions now. Some of them I took these orders in January, so I'm trying to wrap them up. I would love to take some time off this December just to do Christmas things. Oh, girl, y'all, I've on Wednesday, so the day before this episode comes out, I am going to decorate the door of my daughter's classroom. This is not something that it was not on my to-do list for 2024, but it comes up and it's creative, and you volunteer here and there. It's just, there's so much to be done. And so I am looking forward to Christmas. I'm looking forward to the magic of Christmas with my kids. I've already got them set up with like putting hay in the manger in preparation for the coming of Christ, and trying to get them involved with doing acts of service for their family, and trying, they're 4, and for the older 2 are 4 and 5. They're old enough to get the concept of anticipation for Christmas and doing good and being on Santa's good list and all of that. So that takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of mental effort and patience to do that with the kids, but it's worth it. One of those things, projects, it's worth it. That's my waffle, you guys. If you would love to leave a comment, let me know what you thought about this episode. I had fun waffling with you, and I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope that you set boundaries and make time and space to spend with your loved ones, spend with yourself, spend in anticipation of Christmas. And I have something very exciting for those who are kind of starting to look at 2025, kind of starting to plan. I know we're not quite there yet, but I'll mention it now, and then we'll talk more about it in January. I have this resource. It's called the Goal Setting Workbook. It is a download. You can click the link in the show notes to download it. And it is a resource for live wedding painters specifically. There's an element of business evaluation, self-evaluation, self-health, priorities, energy, desires, vision casting, self-evaluation, that kind of thing. I want you to take a minute and figure out what you really want, because like you heard me say today, doing as many weddings as possible is not what I really want anymore. So your visions change, your goals change. Sitting down and going over this thing, I don't know, it's like 14 pages long, I think. It's not very long at all, but it's helpful, and it's guided for live wedding painters specifically. If you're just a commission painter, you feel free to download it as well. It is free, and we go through the goal setting workbook at the beginning of the course. All of my students go through it as a resource, and to help them be intentional with how they're going to proceed through the course and what their goals are. It's wonderful. Please go and click on the link and download it. And yeah, I can't wait to chat with you guys again. It's a little bit longer than a minute long, which is what my sisters and I kind of do. But have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for tuning in and joining us on this journey of artistic exploration, entrepreneurial growth, and personal development. Remember, you have the power to create a life that is both fulfilled and balanced. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe to The Composed Artist on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to leave us a review. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more creatives like you. Until next time, keep creating, keep dreaming, and keep pursuing that composed life. You got this. I'm going to recollect my thoughts and have a sip of coffee.